I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to swear in some new officers. Andrew, all right. Come on up.
Yeah, come all the way in so you can get the picture.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You know, come all the way in.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Andrew M. Saminsky,
I, Andrew M. Saminsky,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and that I will, in all respects,
and that I will, in all respects,
faithfully discharge my duties
faithfully discharge my duties
as a patrolman
as a patrolman
of the City of Wickliffe Police Department
of the City of Wickliffe Police Department
during my continuance in said office.
during my continuance in said office.
Congratulations. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ryan M. Miozzi,
I, Ryan M. Miozzi,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and that I will, in all respects,
and that I will, in all respects,
faithfully discharge my duties
faithfully discharge my duties
as a patrolman
as a patrolman
of the City of Wickliffe Police
of
Department
the City of Wickliffe Police Department
during my continuance in said office.
during my continuance of my said office.
Congratulations. All right. Left hand on the Bible. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, James A. Ars,
I, James A. Ars,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and the laws and charters of the city of Wickliffe,
and that I will, in all respects,
and that I will, in all respects,
faithfully discharge my duties
faithfully discharge my duties
as a patrolman
as a patrolman
of the City of Wickliffe Police Department
of the city of Wickliffe Police Department
during my continuance in said office.
during my continuance in said office.
Congratulations. This one I did
James.
Signature?
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert M. Snyder,
I, Robert M. Snyder,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and the laws of the Charter of the City of Wickliffe,
and that I will, in all respects,
and that I will, in all respects,
faithfully discharge my duties
faithfully discharge my duties
as a patrolman
as a patrolman
of the City of Wickliffe Police Department
of the City of Wickliffe Police Department
during my continuance in said office.
during my continuance of said office.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Bob's dad over there. Bob's dad in the corner over there walking this way. He's one of the best shot putters Wickliffe ever had. Really? The state? Yeah. Yeah. Him and two other guys went to state. All three of them from Wickliffe. They won the team championship for shot putting. For the state, yeah. And the other two guys, Paul Espina and I forget the other guy's name. They won like first, second, and third. Something like that. It was awesome. What he went to high school? What? 19, I don't know. 60s? 70s? I had to be 50s. 50s, yeah.
Okay, I will call to order the Wickliffe City Council meeting of January 23rd, 2023. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bella?
Here.
Gerhardstein?
Here.
Jaworski?
Here.
Kowski? Here. Levon?
Here.
Saloto? Here. Thielman?
Here. Approval of council minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the council minutes, council meeting minutes from January 9th, 2023.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gerhardstein, seconded by Councilman Thielman, that the council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2023 be approved as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bella?
Yes.
Gerhardstein?
Yes.
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kowski?
Yes.
Levon?
Yes.
Saloto? Yes. Thielman?
Yes.
Reports and communications from the Mayor, Safety Director.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, everyone. So I have a few things to report tonight. First, regarding the county sales tax increase passed by the county commissioners, the city of Mentor recently passed a resolution requesting commissioners rescind the 0.5% increase. They've also requested other communities pass similar legislation. So I've heard from a lot of residents who support Wickliffe passing similar legislation. I would not like to be a commissioner right now. They had a couple options, one being the tax hike, The other was they have, they're able to raise the property tax by a millage. They didn't want to go that route because homeowners, obviously. And then the other was continue for services to go down. So I believe a couple of commissioners are in the audience today, and they kind of wanted to explain their side, and I just want to let you guys know that residents have reached out. The bigger news is myself, Wickliffe Mayor, and Willoughby Hills Mayor found out on Tuesday that a vote was passed in October with Euclid, and they're raising the sewer rates 25%. It's crazy. Beyond, that's the best word I can come up with right now. I called Senator Serino today to just see if there was any, we have any fight in the game. We are customers, along with Willoughby Hills and Wickliffe, of Euclid, the sewer facility. So there was legislation passed a while back with the rates scheduled and kind of committed us till 2025 on the scale. So we're going to look into it. I've had our law director is going to look into to see if we have any fight in this matter, because they said this goes into effect January, and we were notified last week. So the transparency was horrible, and we're going to send a letter to Euclid and then try to set up a meeting with Euclid Mayor just to let us know of the communication and just to see what we're going to do regarding this matter. Also, I reached out to Miss Lindsay Virgilio, our representative to the Lake County Board of Health, and they meet the third Monday of the month, and she will be providing reports to council, summarizing what they talked about at that meeting. The city development team has been meeting twice a month. The focus is to communicate and assist with developers, as well as to coordinate inquiries regarding economic development. This group has already centralized communication and improved coordination between city and county agencies. And then tonight during new business, I will be appointing a new member to keep Wickliffe beautiful. And also, Council President, I would like to add whenever we can, comprehensive plan to new business. Whatever letter it is.
We can put that in under additions and amendments to the agenda.
That is all I have.
Any questions or comments for the Mayor, Safety Director? Thank you, Mayor. Reports to communications from Director of Law.
Nothing to report this evening.
Any questions or comments for the Law Director? Councilman Gerardstein.
Jeremy, did you, the ordinance that's on tonight for the part-time firemen, did you write that ordinance?
I did not write the ordinance, but I reviewed it after it was modified.
Who wrote that ordinance?
It was just modified from what had been previously put in. I believe I received the modifications from the fire chief.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the Law Director? Thank you, Jimmy. Communications from the Council President. I have none. Amendments or additions to the agenda, Mayor?
Yes.
New business C.
New business C, if we could please add comprehensive plan.
Okay, comprehensive plan added to new business C. Councilman Gerardstein.
Can we add sales, the Lake County sales tax to the agenda so we can place it in a proper committee for that, please?
Yes, we'll put county sales tax increase into a new business D. Any other additions or amendments to the agenda? If not, we'll move on to administrators. Please, Chief Vice.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything to add to my monthly report.
Any questions or comments for the police chief? Councilman Gerardstein.
Chief, I want to thank your department. I contacted Lieutenant Bush today about the News Herald article where the Kia is donating steering locks, and he said you guys applied for those, so I'd like to thank you guys. He said they will be in a while for the residents, so thanks for getting a heads up on that.
As soon as we get we ordered 48 of them from the representative from California. As soon as they come in, we'll put a posting on our Facebook page.
Thanks for taking care of that, Chief.
Any other questions or comments for the police chief? Thank you, Chief Ice. Fire Chief Powers.
Thank you, Council President. In addition to my previously submitted written report, I'd just like to make council aware, every 2 years we do an interactive community safety program with Telshe Yeshiva students. Lieutenant Zorko does that for us. Well worth it. We see the results when we go on calls up there. It's a general safety awareness, first aid. It's kind of an all-inclusive program for their high school and college age students. And they seem to really like it. So we're glad to add something like that to the community when we have the opportunity. That's all I have, Council President.
Any questions or comments for the fire chief? Thank you, Chief Powers. Finance Director Doles.
Thank you, Council President Levon. As the mayor mentioned, the sewer rates would increase, and I believe Ron's going to talk about that a little more. But I just wanted to make you all aware that the December bill that we just got, which is a relatively low bill for us, with this new rate would have been $37,000 more than it was. So, I mean, it's going to be a big impact on the fund. I was able to close the year, and our carryover was $7,064,000 rounded. That leaves us with a surplus at the end of 2022, if you take into consideration the encumbrances that are still not liquidated, of $490,000. And I do have I'm working on the latest budget draft, which I will have out hopefully by Thursday. And I did get I met with Love Insurance for our liability insurance renewal on Friday. We're going over some of that. They had the Provo House still listed, so, but even with the Provo House listed, it's still within what I had budgeted, so we won't need to make an adjustment for that. It'll go down from what I saw. Ron's looking at the equipment and such. So, I believe that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for the Finance Director? Councilman Jaworski.
So if I understood what you just said, we finished out the year, let's say just in ballpark figures, just over 7 million when you take out the encumbrances. We really finish around 6.6 million?
The 7 million it does take the encumbrances into consideration.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the Finance Director? Thank you, Ms. Doles. Engineer Formica.
Thank you, Council President. I have nothing to add to my written report.
Any questions or comments for the City Engineer? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Service Director Strouser.
Thank you, Council President. The only thing I really have to add was about this proposed Euclid sewer increase. We were all unaware of this. I did running some numbers. I talked to the Euclid Service Director today. That's what the handout was that I gave all you guys. That was it. That's their explanation of why the rates are going up. Basically, I don't know if you guys remember last year, we had to give them the EPA almost shut them down last year for their treatment of the water that they were releasing back into the lake. So they were going to lose their permit, and they weren't going to be able to treat any sewage. So they made an agreement with the EPA that they're going to do some more plant upgrades and everything like that. You know, the plant's fairly new already. So that's the bulk of it. They're expecting a $2.6 million deficit, and they have to pass that cost along to all the people. The increase, from what I've kind of figured out from the money that we spent there last year, the increase will be roughly a little over $500,000. Will be our increase for the year. We base off last year's numbers of usage. That's all I have.
Ron, during the previous administration, we approved slight increases to that fund.
Correct.
Do you know how long those increases were for? Was it just a 3-year plan that we did?
I believe we increased them every year over 5 years.
5 years. So we have increases in place going in.
Correct.
But this is.
It ended last year.
Yeah.
Like that was.
There was no more increases after last year.
In 2022.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the Service Director? Councilman Jaworski.
Ron, with this with this increase, and I guess I'm still trying to, in a way, put my head around it. They're talking $2.6 million total. So once they get that 2.6 million paid for, would they be lowering the rates then, or is this, I mean,
No, actually, if you read that, I mean, they're saying, you know, their utilities are going up, chemical costs are going up, disposal, replacement parts, maintenance supplies, and everybody's running into that. But I do know that some of that is the, you know, the plant upgrade, but I guess they're assuming by the time that, you know, becomes, they get all that $2.6 million deficit paid back, there's gonna be other increases. I don't know. They didn't say anything, and that's why we did, the mayor, you know, reached out today. We're gonna try and reach out and have a meeting with the mayor and hopefully service director, and hopefully they can, you know, shed some more light on this, because this one little paragraph sentence doesn't really justify a $500,000 increase for the city of Wickliffe as far as I'm concerned.
Councilman Bailey.
This is our only option for our sewage.
Correct.
This is it.
You don't have any other choice. The only way to do it is, I mean, if you wanted to, you know, maybe you could look into going into Willoughby or something like that, but you'd have to reroute all the sewers. I mean, it'd be millions and millions of dollars. Actually, I just talked to the Willoughby service director today. They looked into, because they're actually in a good place to add their own treatment plant, just for the size of Willoughby's. If they were just to treat their own, they said it'd be $35 million to install the plant. So, I mean, just think of the upgrade, what Euclid must be with treating, you know, Wickliffe, Willowick, Euclid, Willoughby Hills, you know, quite a few cities. I mean, so the volume must be huge, you know, coming in there compared to.
So if they would have shut the EPA would have shut them down, what would have happened then?
I don't know.
Is it, you know, would they shut it all off, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's why we wrote that letter of support for them and everything like that. I mean, I mean, they're the only ones, we have no choice. All of our sewage goes to the city of Euclid, to the street.
Councilman Gerritsen.
So, I just want to understand, when you talk about 25% increase, are you talking, is this going, if it reflects on the residents of Lake County water bill, 25%?
So right now, this residents get charged a rate, you know, per the thousand, you know, I think it's per 1,000 gallons of water, they get charged a certain rate. If we choose not to pass that on, then the city's gonna eat that increase. So that would be up to you guys to decide, you know, do we wanna, you know, give it all to them at once like this? Do we want to gradually phase it in as we did the last time? That's totally up to you guys.
I'm just trying to explain where the 25% was coming from.
No, yeah, they're not giving, last time, the increases that came to us were gradual. This time it's a 25% rate up as of January 1st of this year, with no notification.
Councilwoman Koski.
So are the business owners gonna be made aware of this?
I'm sure they will be, yeah. I'm sure we'll have to do something. Hopefully, we're gonna, you know, try and come up with something. I mean, you know, and then I guess it would have to come from you guys first to see how we wanna approach this, you know, and to offset this increase, you know. Do we wanna pass it right along to the business owners? Obviously, like, you know, companies like Lubrizol are gonna take a big, substantial hit of this.
Councilwoman Saloto.
This is 500,000 in total, including businesses.
So last year we spent 2.1 something million on freeze, so if you figure 25%, you're right between 500,000 and 600,000, yes. Yeah,
So-
that's the increase.
So we would obviously pass it on to the businesses, especially the big businesses first. So
It all
tell
goes
me
by
that
usage,
coverage,
it all goes
yeah.
by their usage, you know.
So
You
the
know,
average
residents'
resident, I'm trying
usage
to
and stuff like that,
think.
yeah.
If we
So-
passed it all on, the average resident would probably,
It's still
How much?
25%. It wouldn't be a 25% because it's a water and sewer bill, just the sewer
Right,
rate
just
would
the
go to
sewer portion.
25%, which actually the sewer rates for most residents now is more than the water rate,
right,
so.
okay.
Any further questions or comments for the service director? Councilman Jaworski.
Ron, to change subjects, how are we had snow this weekend, how are we doing on salt?
We're doing fantastic, yeah. We salted all the side streets yesterday. I thought we did a pretty good job yesterday. After we left, everything was, as when I left here last night about 9 o'clock, just about everything, there was just some cleanup that we have to do, so. The salt worked fantastic in this warmer weather, so.
You had mentioned, I can't remember if it was last Monday or the previous council meeting, about potential issues with Morton. Has
So
that?
far, I ordered 225 tons of salt today, and they said it would be delivered here at the end of the week, so at least nothing as of yet.
Okay.
And no update on the strike from Morton at all?
I have not heard anything, no, and actually, one of our employees used to work for Morton, so he kinda has an inside track on it. When I talked to the girl in the office who's out of Detroit, she said that they're pretty much, they're okay with anything that happens. So, I don't know if that means bringing in temporary workers, I don't know. It shouldn't be really.
Any further questions?
I guess,
Councilman George?
just to follow up, and how much more, after we receive this order, how much more salt can we purchase before we've hit our limit?
Oh, yeah, we got plenty, 2,000 tons, yeah, we're good, we're only about a quarter of, not even, about a fifth of our order for the year, so.
Okay, and we have to order, what, 80% of that of the total?
90%, we can order up to 110.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the service director? Thank you, Ron. Building Commissioner Sack.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have nothing to add to my monthly report.
Any questions or comments for the Building Commissioner? Councilwoman Koski.
Ray, I would like to make you and everyone else aware that the Lake County Community Cats, the group that we have designated as helping with stray and feral cats in the city, they will be, here's a little kitty for your visual. They will be having a public meeting on February 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Wickliffe Public Library. They will be discussing the trap neuter release program and have a forum and discussion in regards to the ordinance that we passed. And if there are caregivers, they will also be able to be registered at that time. But all council people should probably attend in case you get calls about cats. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the Building Commissioner? Thank you, Rick. Recreation Director Stott.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just one quick comment. I want to thank those who were able to help with our Winterfest a couple Saturdays ago. We had a really nice turnout. We had a record of 15 entries for our chili contest, so thanks to those who were able to help out. That's it.
Any questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Mayor.
Yeah, I want to elaborate on that. We had record numbers for the audience, or for residents that showed up. The record number of entries, 15 chili entries, and paid for that. And then, serious deal. All right, so the thing is, the only thing that was questioned is parking now. We never had that issue. Residents weren't able, some residents wanted to come and couldn't park. So we're looking into options if we shuttle next year or something, but that's a good problem when we had a lot of people that wanted to participate, so just wanted that. It was a great event.
Any further questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Thank you, Tim. Economic Development Manager is on the agenda, but we no longer have that person, so we'll move on to audience participation. I'll now open the floor for audience participation. This portion of this meeting is intended for the audience to address the council and mayor. If anyone would like to address Wickliffe City Council, please stand, state your name and address for the clerk's record. Each person will have a 5-minute maximum amount of time. Would anyone like to address Wickliffe City Council? Yes, sir. In the front.
Good evening. Robert Bazzarelli, 1901 Fairway Drive. I just wanted to follow up on last meeting. Was there any conversation with the vendor who installed the street on Fairway Drive? And is the condition as expected at this point in time, including the tracking of the debris up the drives and into the homes?
Yes, all is as expected.
Including the tracking, okay. And then are there other streets slated for this type of treatment in Wickliffe at this point?
Not at this time.
Not at this time?
Mm-mm.
All right, thank you.
Would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Yes, sir, right there.
Hi, my name is Joe Evans. I'm at 29144 Ridge Road, just down the way by the Green Ridge Golf Course. I just wanted to reopen the investigation. Well, it's not investigation, I apologize, but whatever it is for, I guess there was a vote about the selling of the property for the golf course. And it seemed like from what I got from the meeting minutes, there was maybe some misinformation, things that if I had a list of questions, I'd be more than willing to go ahead and provide you guys with the information, pictures, because then the pictures won't lie. And I mean, obviously, I'm biased on my opinion as well. So is this the right forum to do that?
Sure, sure. I know when we talked about it, where we left off, was it moving the fence? Are we talking about that still, or?
Well, I think we discussed that we weren't going to sell it, and that if the fence was the issue, that the city fence was on further into our side than it was onto your side, we would move the fence to accommodate that.
I'm more than willing to put up a nice, beautiful fence. You can even write it into the contract too. I mean, and then that's one less thing that the golf course has. So then the golf course has more money that they can invest on themselves.
I think what we were trying to alleviate is the problem that there will be a sewer easement that goes through there, and if we decide that we're going to put sewers down that side of Ridge Road, they will have to come right through that particular parcel. And it would be easier for, if we retain that, than to sell that and then have to worry about the easement if we did put sewers in.
I'm on septic. I welcome that. You could, if you sell it to me, just write it into the contract. Come right through. I welcome it.
Well, we understand that if you continue to own that, sir, but in the right now there's no plan for that, but we can't, it's easier for us and better for the city to retain that piece for further, if we have to put a sewer there. That's one of the reasons why the committee decided to keep that in the city, not sell it.
Okay, that's the sticking point then?
That's what the vote was. I'm just telling you what the vote was.
Well,
Go ahead, Councilman Thielman.
I think the sticking point was that there was no advocate for what was going on. We had no idea.
I didn't know either. I
Yeah,
apologize.
so we just came into our lap, and we didn't know, well, who's for this? And law director wasn't pushing for it. Nobody was saying, yes, let's do this. So we didn't have, you weren't here, so.
Yeah, I backed off because the law director and poor Pete, I thought you were gonna lose your mind on me. And I'm probably approaching the 5 minutes.
But real quick, I think that what we need to do is, we obviously have a new law director now, a new firm. So I think we maybe have some discussions with you and the new law director and then the mayor, and we can try to figure out if there's a better plan to work on than what we currently.
I'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, Mr. Vidic.
Thank you. It's a hot mic. Pete, I hope you don't lose your mind over this, okay? But I want to relate to you that
Mr. Vidic, can you
Pete,
state your name? Can you state
I'm
your
sorry?
Name and address,
Oh,
please.
Dennis Vidic, VIDIC, 1934 Fairway Drive. The issue's Fairway Drive again. Let me relate to you that I wanted to thank you because the Monday following last meeting, you recruited a young man, Jordan, who came down our street, parked a service van up, or a vehicle at the top of the street, had a whisk broom, a push broom, I should say, a dustpan, a cardboard box on a dolly, and went down the entire way of Fairway Drive and swept the aprons and swept the street as much as he could. And he was terrific. If there's a way to give him a recommendation, you should do that, because they did an awful job. I mean, a terrific job. He was recruited, I guess, from the clerical staff, so that says something. So you got a good employee there. Now, the negative to that is that about 5 minutes to 5 on that same day, the whirlwind comes down the street, the street sweeper. And what does it do? Well, it takes all of the slag and the rocks and pushes it to the curb and the apron. So the good work that he did wasn't exactly coordinated in fine fashion. Okay, it was not done in fine fashion. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that I know that there are some council people that came down Fairway Drive. And I wonder, I guess the question I have is how many councilmen, a mayor, and administrators actually walked Fairway Drive? Is there anyone that can raise their hand and say that they actually walked it? Pete, Ron?
Of course I do.
Okay, you actually walked it. So if you actually walked it, you notice that there's a big difference between riding your vehicle down the street and walking it. And if you walked it from the cul-de-sac to Ridge and from Ridge back to the cul-de-sac, you'll note what the condition of the street is like. So you need to take that into consideration. The first thing is to recognize the problem. And I hope if you did the walk, you recognize the problem, that there is something wrong and it needs to be addressed in some fashion. And I would hope that council doesn't take this and sweep it under the rug and say, oh, it's a little Fairway Drive, there's only 18 homes on there, there aren't very many voters there, so we don't have to address this problem. And of great concern to me is, and I don't know, maybe I didn't hear you correctly, Pete, but if you said something about wanting to put this same kind of process on other streets in Wickliffe, let me tell you, if you do that, you're going to have one heck of a problem. You're going to have one heck of a problem with the residents. I can assure you of that. Because no one is going to accept that condition of that street as one that's conducive to living in Wickliffe. You know, we all go this, let's keep Wickliffe beautiful. Let's improve Wickliffe. Are we really doing that? Are we really doing that? I don't think so. Not with the street we have. I don't think so. And that's just not a matter of one or two opinions. There's a lot of people that have looked at it. And maybe there should be more people in Wickliffe that are welcome to come down Fairway Drive, take a look at it, and see what the city has done for us. I thank you for your attention.
Yeah, so I would like to comment to that.
Sure.
I welcome the council members and myself. I've spoke to other mayors in other cities, and anytime they do a tar and chip or a chip seal, it is what it is meant to be, and it's just a preventative maintenance. You guys will get a new road, but the point is to prolong the road for a few years.
I don't have 10 years to live.
No, it's not going to be 10 years, but the point on this is, by any means, is it not the worst street in Wickliffe? Because there are people that have horrible streets. We have a list of the worst streets in Wickliffe, and it's not so. And I'm not looking for a whole debate, but I did have a resident on Fairway Drive reach out to me, could not be here tonight. She has COVID, like real bad, and when she was told it was going to be a temporary fix, and then she heard all the complaining, she contacted me through Messenger and said she couldn't believe how nice it looked for a temporary fix. So, but I understand, everybody's entitled to their opinion, I'm not saying that. I have no skin in the game or a vote on that, but I did want everybody to have an open mind, because you guys got to live with it. But it wasn't meant to be an end-all, be-all. It was just a preventative, you know, so prolong the road from holes. And so we did, Pete had Jordan come up there, and we thought, so I'm going to take the hit on that.
Well, you should take the compliment on it.
Well, the street sweeper.
Oh,
I just wanted to address as much as we can to keep up on that. And our service director said we will keep up on the rocks in the driveway, because those will eventually go away. So, but I know, and it's just been, we spent a lot of time on Fairway, so just have comfort in the fact that we didn't just sweep it under the rug.
Okay.
Would anybody else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Coleman. I live at 2500 Rockefeller Road. The house that my wife called the house on the hill overlooking the inside curve of Wickliffe's Dead Man's Curve. I heard a laugh. Okay. About 2 years ago, I first contacted Councilman Bogo and you, Maria, about issues with safety on our street, looking for some enforcement of our traffic laws. The issue that we keep running into is we go to pull in our driveway, is we have people passing us between the lane that we're in and our driveway. We have people just harassing us, amongst other things. There are times I hear a horn go out and I see my wife is about ready to pull in the driveway. We've been cursed at. It just gets crazy. I tend to back in the driveway because we're on a hill. I have a better view when I leave. I don't have to take a second lane when I leave for work. And people don't seem to be willing to allow me that opportunity. And the fact that we are not orthogonal to the street adds to the issue, and that it takes a wider turn for me to pull in. So my initial desire was for some help from our police department in monitoring the street and looking for not so much speed. I didn't think speed was a big issue at the time, and since learned differently, but rather the people who would go left of center, create problems for us in pulling in. So I had not heard a lot last year initially, and by the way, Councilman Bottle, I think you called ours the worst driveway in Wickliffe, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That is.
So you know what I'm talking about. We're looking for some abatement from that type of behavior. And not having heard anything, I decided to put a proposal on the table, a 3-point plan. Monitoring, just put a cop, when he's doing his reports, use our driveway or somebody else's driveway. Become visible on the street. And third point being perhaps laying down speed humps. And the speed humps are the one part that seem to take any kind of traction and create any kind of a discussion. Speed humps, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with them, and I did a little bit of research, by the way, with Chief Mecklenburg out of Cleveland Heights, and she was looking into the same issue for her city. Speed humps are designed to control speed. We're not talking about the same thing that you see in the parking lots, and I think that you looked at them a little bit, Pete, but rather they're tapered, 14-foot wide things that you lay down, don't really affect snow removal very much, so they could be left permanently over the course of the year. Problem is, the conversation seems to have gotten dropped, and whether it's speed humps or whether it's enforcement, we're looking for some solutions. Now, when you had speed signs out the one time, I went out and I watched the speed signs, and I watched to see how people were affected by them. People driving close to the speed limit tend to slow down towards the speed limit. As they got further away, 42, 49 miles an hour, they didn't slow down at all. I was shocked to see 49 miles an hour. I didn't think the speeds were that bad, but there were a lot of them. According to Chief Mecklenburg, those signs actually record the speeds that they see. I'd be interested in seeing what kind of speeds are being recorded. And again, speeding is a problem on every street. I understand that. We have a curve. We can't see the people coming at us when we pull out. We can't see people coming around the curve before we pull in. We have a high school down there. It's going to soon be the school where every child in the city who attends public school attends school. We have a home daycare across the street from us. Sometimes those kids are on the curb doing their fundraising. And you got 50-mile-an-hour traffic going through the neighborhoods. I've been out working on my lawn when somebody climbs a curb. They're going so fast they cut it so close. They climb the curb, and at one point that curb's only 2 feet away from the sidewalk. The sidewalk that the city put in, the retaining wall, blocks some of our view. Sometimes we can't see down in Mapledale to pull out. So we pull out, get hit. First thing you guys are going to do, Chief Rice, is cite me. But the fact of the matter is, I've done everything I can to be safe. So my question is, what can we get from the city to help us be safe and feel safe in our own home, in our own city? I've done some research. I have discs I can pass out to all the council people, Chief Rice, Chief Powers. If you'd like, I'll leave them on the table for you. I appreciate your time, and I'd like to hear some discussion.
Well, I think that the best discussion would be with the safety director and the chiefs to figure out what the best plan would be. Okay, so I'm not sure that's going to happen at this moment during the council meeting, but that's something that you guys should do in the near future.
Yes,
I do agree.
it will be discussed. Nonstop do I talk to our police chief. It's not just Rockefeller. We have many roads in Wickliffe that have a problem. Having more of those flashing speed signs may not be the end, but it does help. I mean, it slows down some, but not all. And it's a heavier police presence, I guess, could be the answer too. They do sometimes where we have a lot of crime coming into Wickliffe, which they're trying to focus on. But however, on speeding, the one thing we can do, we've talked about speed humps and speed bumps at length. And I don't know if that's ever been a popular result. So I feel that's not the answer. And every administrator, we've talked about those. But as far as having a police officer sit there when they're available, that will be something to discuss. If you have exact times that you want them there, like, is there a different, or is it all out? You know,
It's all hours. Rush hour is obviously the worst. And there's one driveway on the street that would provide probably the best point for surveillance. It's up by just to the south of us. Our driveway, while I would invite anybody to sit in there, like I say, offers very poor observation. But as far as the speed humps go, Akron this past year promised to add 28 more to their city. Lakewood has added to their city. They've asked for more. Cleveland Heights, like, as I said, my cousin's wife, who was Chief Mecklenburg there, was looking into the situation, and she was planning to order humps before she retired. So the problem with enforcement, you put the officer in danger. How often do we hear about, you know, somebody running into a police officer? You create a distraction for the drivers. If that's what it takes, I'd love to see it. But if we can do something more benign, then I think the speed humps would be a wonderful thing to give it a try. If you go through the shopping center on Harvard, just off of 271, they've got them there in the back driveways. If you put down 4 humps on Rockefeller, 2 around the curve, 2 by the high school, it'd be a far easier drive than Wooten Road up here. You know, far less jarring to the drivers. Maria.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Sloto.
Yeah, so, you know, I live across the street from you, so I
Yes.
absolutely understand.
Yes.
And there is a lot of speeding, and we did try to address the speed signs, which I think helped. I mean, it slows people down a little bit. We've talked about maybe putting something more permanent there, so that we can at least get people to slow down. But the speed bumps,
Not bumps, humps.
humps, whatever we wanna call them. I'm a girl, bumps. I'm just thinking, how would they really help? Because if people are speeding, they're gonna be hitting the bump really, I mean, you're not gonna know it's coming. It's very dangerous to put those like in the middle of a road like Rockefeller, where people, it is, you know, it's a large, wide road that people are used to driving down. So I'm not sure that that's gonna really help you with respect to safety, because I think we'd have more problems with that. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy than not, but I'm just thinking, I understand what you guys go through with that driveway. It is a really difficult driveway, and it's almost inappropriately placed because you can't really tell. So have you thought about, you know, maybe trying to do something with your landscape itself to maybe give it a little more visibility? I mean, is there a way we can maybe take out part of that?
Well, amongst the other things we run into too is 3 times in the past 2 years, somebody's driven off the wall over the sidewalk. We've had to have the car towed back onto the driveways.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose idea was to do that sort of thing, but it was before your.
It was before my tenure.
Yeah. I think that particular house that particular driveway is just a very difficult issue.
It is, but
Maybe
even
we could try to address that. Maybe we could-
even more so are the drivers that we share the road with. The
If
pedestrians, we've had 2 issues where kids have wound up in the street. One set of kids in a wagon that got away from their parents, out into Rockefeller, across Rockefeller, and into a driveway across the street.
I know, it's a dangerous area. My kids were little too on Rockefeller. It's very, but again, there's a lot of streets that need.
Speed-
like that.
Sure,
Speeding's an issue
if
everywhere.
you could stay after or provide us your email address, I'm sure that the mayor and the safety directors would be more than happy to meet with you and have a discussion on this. I mean, I'm not sure how, let's let them talk about the other safety people of this, of the city, and, you know, they'll give you an answer, but if we can contact you and maybe set up a meeting.
I would appreciate that.
Okay. Councilwoman Kosky, you wanted to say something?
Okay, I was just gonna say that I have also suggested something similar to the speed humps, like temporary seasonal ones that can be lifted. So I would like to see these ones that you're saying exist in other areas, so I will go and seek them out and see what they look like.
Okay, on the disc, I've got links to other cities,
Okay,
so you can see their
okay,
plans.
thank you.
Councilman Bella?
Yeah, last year and this year I proposed to put, speed signs up there, so hopefully this year we'll get a sign up there for you. So, let's hope it prevents some slowdown. So,
All right.
Maybe put them closer to your house. 'Cause they're right in front of my house.
no, let me see.
Okay, all right, would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Yes, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Begovich?
Hi, Rich Regovich, Lake County Board of Commissioners. I came here tonight to answer any questions you guys might have on the sales tax, but I also want to address this if I could with Chief Ice. In Willowick, I'm the former mayor of Willowick. Not very long ago, at our police department, we have actually something we can attach to a pole that collects data, how many cars actually speed on that street. I'm sure they'd be willing to let you borrow it. It was a $30,000 purchase at the time, but every city has similar areas, and that data, I always hear people speed on my street and all this, and it'll break down the times. You can leave it up for a week, a month, the time of day, how many cars go by each day, the average speed, the fastest, slowest. But I think that would help the police department out immensely without having to physically put a car there, because, as we all know today, the police officers are real busy doing a lot of other things, and it's hard to bring someone away to do just traffic. It never seemed to work in Willock because they always get torn away to go take care of theft or something. So we're here for any questions too. So,
Councilman Jaworski?
Commissioner, I guess the opinion of one of your fellow commissioners has been made very public about why he believes this shouldn't have happened.
Right.
We've heard nothing from yourself and Commissioner Hammercheck on the decision itself. Could you please speak to that and inform us as city officials, how you guys came to that conclusion and why?
Absolutely. So, in my decision, it's always been a safety decision. I campaigned on that. Currently, the police, which is our sheriff department, our prosecutors department, and our courts are all underfunded by manpower. Our sheriff's deputies make probably $15,000 or more or less than most police officers in any of the departments in this county. We need to bring them whole. We, like many other cities, cannot find anybody that wants to do that job. Our part-time sheriffs make less money than a part-time Lake Tran bus driver. We think that's a sad situation. It's today's market. We understand it's a nationwide problem. So we look at all the needs that are coming towards our general fund. That is a major one. With every one of those, we had our prosecutors coming to our meetings before I was even on the Board of Commissioners back in August, and an average prosecutor out of school starts making $66,000 a year. An attorney that just got out of school. We can't find anybody. We had an opening for 2 attorneys. It took a year to fill that. In that time, we lost 3. Pretty soon, we won't be able to prosecute cases that you guys see here on the weekends. We would, we're going to go to a model that we don't want to see. Some call it catch and release. Some say we're going to let someone to go that's being held until we can get to that case and move forward. In our court system, all the support staff are leaving to take other jobs. It's a continual thing on top of the other budgetary concerns that we have. I think what you've seen on social media from our colleague is only addressing one issue. It doesn't address the people. It doesn't address any of the capital expenditures with the county that has over 25 buildings with roofs and grounds and stuff like that. And we can't let those things go down the road. As you probably all know, if you push off capital expenditures for too long, it costs way more money to fix that building, to fix that property, than it would if you take care of it with regular maintenance. So we have an ask. I have an email with me that we sent to people earlier that just has the list of asks we're putting together. You know, we look at it as up to $6 million a year just in people. And you know, when you go through contract negotiations, that's just compounding. So it's $6 million. The next year it's going to be a raise on top of that, then a raise on top of that, and a raise on top of that moving forward. So we need to bring the county to a spot that they're competitive, where we can retain our people and also attract new people. We're having a lot of trouble doing that right now, right as we speak. That's one portion of it. We also, the county gets its income only in certain ways. One's the local government fund, which you all are aware of. Lake County is one of the few counties that we only get 11 cents on the dollar at the county level. And we distribute the rest out to all the municipalities and all the other people in the county. Where it's one of 2 counties, is that true, that do that. Our inside millage, we're allowed to collect 2.1 mills. We collect 1 mill currently. We're one of the lowest counties that do that. So we're low on other spots. The 0.5% increase, right now the state gets 5.75%. We get 1%, well, we're 7.25% now, but Lake Tran gets a 0.5 mil or 0.5 percentage of that right now. So that doesn't come to the county, and that's money we can't touch. So if we get, if we continue, we get 0.5% right now to run our general fund. So our income is less than most other counties around us and throughout the state. We've done a good job of managing our funds over the years, but we see a time in the next 3 to 5 years where we're going to be in a spot that we don't ever want to be in, especially when it comes to our courts, especially when it comes to our sheriff's department, our jail, and our prosecutor's office. So in a brief summary, it's a complicated issue, but that's what we see. And this comes from our budget director. It comes from the sheriff's department. It comes from, it's not something I walked in the office and said, I can't wait to raise taxes today. We sat down and looked at all these people, listened to all these people, what they told us and what they suggested, and did the numbers every which way we could. We whiteboarded it. Even at the end of December, there was up for vote. We said, wait, I need more time. And we took more time to look at every other avenue. And this is where we felt that we need to be now and going into the future.
Any other questions or comments for commissioners? Councilman Garrett, sorry.
I'd just like to thank you for coming tonight. And
thanks for having
that
us.
too.
Anything else?
I guess,
Councilman George?
Rich, I'm just curious, you mentioned it was not only just for the jail itself. How much, I mean, I'm not familiar with your guys' Lake County. I mean, what is even the cost of that, and how much overall would this increase create for you guys in terms of funding?
So it's a hard thing to kind of anticipate because it's based on sales. So they think anywhere from 16 to 18 million dollars a year would come in. A new jail, according to our consultants, 150 to 170 million dollars. Anyone that's seen our jail, everyone that's been to our jail, there's no question we need a jail. That's got to happen regardless. At some point, the state says you have to do this. And currently, our state of Ohio provides $50 million of funding for jails only. 52 counties have applied for that $50 million. So what's $1 million if they spread it up and spread that money around? It's not even a drop in a bucket. It doesn't cover the engineering costs. So we have to think wisely. So our jail was built wrong from the beginning, It was a governor's brother that built a jail. They're notorious throughout the state. Every one of those built by the same company are in complete disrepair. We're losing our facade. It's falling off. We have to pin it to the block behind it. But again, I want to stress the safety portion of this is it's the people. We don't pay our people what they deserve, and we're not going to get the people and the quality of people to work in those spots. You guys use the prosecutor's office here. Every municipality uses the prosecutor's office. What if we don't have prosecutors to prosecute? And that's something that has our prosecutor, Chuck Colson, scared. And he approached in August. His whole office came, all gave testimony. So it's not a new problem. Everyone thinks it's just coming to light. They've been talking about it for 2 years. Had they built the jail 2 years ago, it probably would have cost $50 million less than it does now. And every month we wait, it's like another $1 million. I wish we did it when the interest rate was, 2%.
Mayor? Yeah, I was gonna say that stat that I heard of one of the mayors and managers, every month they wait on this, it keeps going up $1 million. Because originally you looked at it in 2016 or something like that, the price
I'm gonna
was
have
way
Commissioner
lower.
Hammer check who was there.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't want to take cuts on my first visit out here. Well, if I could just echo and amplify my colleague. Matt, to your point, all of our communications have been through public meetings. Unlike our colleague who has chosen to communicate through social media, Facebook, editorials, I don't know how you run a government that way. I can tell you at our last commissioner meeting, I challenged his theory. I pointed out that you can't count the same money twice. You can't call a fund rainy day fund and budget stabilization and count that money twice. One is the common name that most folks understand. The other is the accounting legal name. The other that was pointed out and was also supported by our prosecutor, Charles Colson, was that you cannot use utilities monies to supplement the general fund under any circumstance. Our colleague is choosing to ignore that. We choose to follow the law. It is a challenge when you have someone who wishes to communicate through social media. It is a problem. It is rhetoric. I have used the words rhetoric. The public deserves better than rhetoric. They need facts. Chief Ice runs a professional police department that is challenged just like every other law enforcement agency in this county. Our prosecutor supports this department as well as others through a form of what is called vertical prosecution. A prosecutor is assigned to a case from the beginning all the way through litigation. An officer communicates with one person. That leaves your people free to be on the road doing their jobs, not sitting at the prosecutors, not sitting in the courtroom. That's an efficiency directly returned back to the community. In other communities, such as Cuyahoga County, they do not have that type of prosecution. They have essentially a bullpen model where you can have 3 to 7, maybe more sometimes, but nevertheless, prosecutors on a case. Cases are not properly charged, they are not properly processed, and very often they are plea bargained away. Not only does that save money for Cuyahoga County, but it's also plea bargaining away justice for the victims. In Lake County, there are consequences for crime. It is a very high standard, and yes, it costs a great deal of money to have vertical prosecution. But when your officers start to realize catch and release, ask yourself, would you risk your life to engage and try to hold somebody accountable, only knowing that your prosecutor is going to do catch and release? Let's take it a step further, our courts. We have courts that service all of Lake County. Those courts cannot maintain magistrates. They cannot maintain court attorneys. We are not competitive. We have been very fortunate that every elected official over the last 2 years has been cooperative and supporting a 10% cut. When this whole COVID thing hit, we responded. We had the support of all of our department heads and other elected officials for 10% cuts. We have held those numbers from 2020. That is a fact. When our colleague talks about how he has verified these numbers with the auditor, he, however, has not verified those numbers with our budget finance director. And when you choose to ignore your budget finance director, it's a little bit like calling your bank and saying, hey, what's the balance in my account? But not asking, what are you spending the money on? House payment, car payment, insurance? What are you having for dinner tonight? Can you afford to go out to dinner? It is rhetoric, and this is what we're dealing with. And I'm sure you've all had to, at one time or another in your career, deal with slings and arrows. If you saw the venomous things that we have to endure right now, it is off the scale. Absolutely off the scale. When we hear people say, well, just put the criminals in a barn or buy a hotel and put them in that, the jail is becoming a distraction. It's a big edifice that you can point to. What you can't point to is the silent service that takes place behind the scene. When your police and your fire are doing their jobs, you really don't notice it. They're not out there being show me, show me. They're not out there for the ribbon cuttings. They're not out there making all this noise to draw attention to them. It's called being a professional. And we are blessed in Lake County to have professionals. And one of the standards that I think started because of the Perry-Nuclear Power Plant. The level of professionalism in Lake County is among the best in the state of Ohio. And that is very much in danger. I have pointed this out on the sales tax. Lake County is competing with Lake Tran. Nothing against Lake Tran. They're fine people, they're hard workers. Right now we have bus drivers, both part-time and full-time, that are paid as much, if not more, than law enforcement officers and deputies. That's a problem. The command team at Lake Tran, they are paid as much or more than sergeants, lieutenants, captains, assistant chiefs, deputy chiefs, and chiefs. Again, I say nothing against our friends at Lake Tran. A successful community also does have to have public transportation, but not at the cost. And think of this, when you've got a transportation system that is 90% subsidized, 90% subsidized, competing, public transportation for a few, public safety and other expenses for all, that's a problem. But we are basically being told, oh, no, 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 you have to be not only the lowest on inside millage. Oh, no, 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 you have to be the lowest on local government funds. It's, oh, no, 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 you need to be the lowest on sales tax. As my colleague pointed out, Lake County is functioning on 1%. 52 other counties are at 1.5. That's all we're asking. That's all we're asking, is to be able to be competitive. Economic development. We have one of the greatest resources, Lake Erie. How are we supposed to do economic development without the funds? People say get grants. Use your surplus. Oh, what surplus would that be? I'm going to keep looking over to finance because I've got somebody who gets it. The monies on deposit with the Lake County Treasurer are pooled dollars. The $55 million for Deepwood, we have no access to that. The $7 million for narcotics, we can't touch that. I believe it's another $7 million for the crime lab. We can't touch that. Adams Board, we can't touch that. However, the monies are pooled, just like going to a bank, you make a deposit and that money gets pooled into that bank. It doesn't mean I can go to your bank account and say, hey, you got an extra $50 million, I'm just gonna take it. We have elected officials who seem to think they can do that. It is not permitted by law. We literally had one of our elected officials say, well, just ask them to give it to you. That also is not permitted by law. Well, did you at least ask? It's not permitted by law. It is black letter. I'm not even sure if we got a lawyer in the house here? There you go. Black letter, you cannot, even if you have another board, you cannot do that. Attorney General's opinions are abundant on this issue. There would be finding for recovery, and there would potentially be criminal prosecution to do something like that. These are serious matters before us. Serious. And the rhetoric is getting absolutely out of control. The fear-mongering. We are being accused of pointing out that we have an increase in gun violence. Chief, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not uncommon to have a firearm involved. And people want to say, oh, well, this is what, we should regulate guns. It's the criminals with the guns, not the good guys, that are the problem. We have had a number of murders in Lake County. 2 recently involving drugs. The defendant in that case committing suicide in the parking lot of the courthouse where the judges, where the clerk of courts, where the prosecutors, and most importantly of all, where the jurors were walking by. Had that individual turned that firearm on the people around there, we'd have a much bigger problem. I'm not going to go into what we've done to try to mitigate that, but there are several things that need to be done yet, and that is being ignored, all over rhetoric. Those are the kinds of real issues that we talk about in public, at public meetings. My colleague and I choose not to participate in Facebook manifestos and editorials in the paper and playing on people's fears. We are stating facts. And quite frankly, if you want to take a look, and I'm working very closely with our human trafficking task force, if you want to look at all of the hookup sites, all, and I emphasize all, that involve human trafficking, prostitution, and pedophilia, they are all based out of one city. One city in Lake County. And I'm not even going to say it, but I think you can all guess where that city is and who that city is. And I am stunned that those elected officials are daring to say, don't do this. I could go on. If you have other questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but I think you can appreciate that I truly have studied this in great detail. And thank you for yielding the microphone to me now. Any questions, folks? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Robert Edsliver, 29440 Oakwood Drive. I appreciate both commissioners being here. I want to let you know what happened to me when I went out to the county office building on January 3rd this year. This was after hearing about 2 meetings that they desperately wanted me to come to give my input on the sales tax. They're both at 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. There's no way I could go out there. I happened to be in Painesville on the 3rd, so I stopped at the county administration office. I go, and this also is going to dovetail into why I appreciate Mrs. Doles and Mrs. Benedict in Willowick. Okay, I'm in the county office building on January 3rd in the finance department, a lot bigger than Wickliffe and Willowick. There's nobody there to talk to me. They told me Mike Mattis was home, his assistant was at home. I asked for simple financial statements on the county's decision to raise the sales tax. They told me no such documents existed. They said Mike Mattis was going to have to personally print them out for me. Okay? Now, this is the first time I was out at the county in my history asking for information. I find it hard to believe I'm in a county office building and the only one that could help me is the director. That's like me saying when I call the water department because there's a leak in front of my house, I'm going to look outside and I'm going to see Mr. Roethlisberger running the front end loader digging up the street. He's the director. He shouldn't have to talk to me. Mike Mattis shouldn't have to talk to me. So after being in the finance office for 20 minutes and nobody could help me, they suggested I go to the commissioner's office. I go to the commissioner's office. I'm talking to John Pleshnick and I'm talking to Jason Boyd. They couldn't help me at all. They couldn't answer any of my questions. I asked them, if this is being talked about in the commissioner's office raising the Lake County sales tax, there has to be financial data backing up why they're requesting it. They told me they could call Mike Mattis at home. And I said, no, you're not calling Mike Mattis at home. I said, this is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I'm in the Lake County office building during office hours, and I can't get financial statements. I go up and see Debbie. I get them in 2 minutes, and I'm going out the building. And she's only in there by herself. I go out to a county building. I can't get anything. I hear all this talk in the newspaper from John, from the two commissioners here tonight. Now, there's got to be some paperwork that I could look at that justifies why this is being raised. Why can't I look at it? That's all I want to know. And why are meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning? I talked to Jerry Serino on the phone. I told him he should make a bill saying that it's illegal for cities to have meetings any earlier than 7 o'clock at night. I mean, this is ridiculous. They have a meeting about the Chagrin River. They have a meeting, it's at 4:30 to 5:30. They had a meeting on Vine Street. It starts at 4:30. It's over at 6 o'clock. I mean, and then they tell me my opinion is valuable. I mean, I got a 5-page letter coming out to you guys that's going to back up everything I'm telling you. We're getting ready to go into a terrible recession that no one knows what it's going to do because of the federal government handing out all this money and interest rates rising. They had a report Friday, sales plummeted to the biggest drop in over 5 years. People are stopping spending, and now you're making a sales increase. But my question to you is, when I come out to the county office building, why can't I get any information? I'm talking to the administrator. He can't answer my question. John Pleshnick couldn't even answer my question.
Bob, is that a question you can ask outside of the council meeting? I mean, to these guys?
Well, all I want to know is there's all this talk about why this is all needed now, but when I was out there, why couldn't anyone tell me anything?
That's a legitimate question. I think that those guys should be able to answer it after this meeting, or, right?
Did you want to answer that?
It's not our meeting.
You can answer after the meeting. You can answer it. I mean, yeah. Does anybody else want to address Wickliffe City Council? Does anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council?
Do we hear a copy of the memo that breaks down where all the
If not, I'll mark audience participation closed. Committee reports. Councilwoman Saloto.
Thank you. The Safety and Special Equipment Committee met on January 16th, 2023. In attendance, councilpersons Ed Levon, Tom Thielman, Jim Bala, Randy Gerhardstein, Sherry Kosky, Matt Jaworski, and Maria Saloto. Also in attendance, Mayor Sakis, Police Chief Ice, Pete Formica, Ron Strasser, Debbie Doles, Ray Sack, Tim Stopp, Chief Powers, and Pete Formica. I said that. Okay. Meeting started at 7 p.m. Ron Strasser opened with an ask for 3 pieces of equipment for the service department. The first was that there was a need for a new salt truck, which due to supply chain issues will be available for delivery in 2 years. Ron is suggesting that we split the cost up over 2 years, $110,000 this year and $65,000 next year. A decision needs to be made as to whether we encumber the whole cost this year or simply $110,000 for the first part of the equipment. Regardless of the choice we make, the entire piece of equipment will not be completed or available until at least the end of next year. All right on that? Number 2, there was a need for a new grinder, which will cost $24,500. Ron also stated that he will possibly get $8,000 for the old one if he sells it. And then number 3, there's also an ask for a new leaf machine, as we presently have a machine over 25 years old. The cost will be $95,000. Councilman Jaworski asked if there's an advantage to paying for the entire salt truck now. Ron responded there's no time savings, therefore no advantage. Councilman Bala also asked what type of machine and whether it was hydraulic. Ron responded it's a Freightliner and is indeed hydraulic. Councilman Jaworski asked if there was anything else that Ron could use the extra encumbered $65,000 for this year. Ron replied that he does not believe so. He does know that we will need a new excavator next year, but that will be between $80,000 and $90,000. Council President Levon stated that he would prefer to leave all dollars in the correct year. Ron stated that he also would like to keep the dollars clean, $110,000 this year and $65,000 next year. Councilman Thielman asked if we should possibly allocate all of the money in case both parts came in early. Ron responded that that will not be the case. We would not get both parts for the truck this year, and it will make sense to only allocate the 110 this year. Councilman Gerhardstein asked if the company, Concord, will be increasing the price by the time the order was completed, as they did the last time we used them on other equipment. Ron replied that that may actually be a possibility, but he would still like to stay with Concord due to its location and logistical convenience. Randy Gerhardstein asked again if there was any way that we would get this truck in 2023. Ron again replied that there was no way we would be getting the truck in 2023. Committee voted and recommended to council that we should approve these three capital items in the 2023 budget. Item was reported out of committee, meeting adjourned 7:16 p.m.
Councilman Jaworski.
Wickliffe City Council Improvement Committee met on January 16, 2023. Present Jaworski, Levon, Saloto, Balint, Hartstein, Thielman, and Koski. Also present Sakis, Ice, Formica, Strauser, Doles, Sack, Stop, and Powers. Meeting called to order 7:17 p.m. First order of business was the Rockefeller Road Improvement Study. Formica said the design of the island is 85 to 95% complete. He noted there is a 20-week lead time for the traffic controllers. To expedite the process, he urged council to allow the purchase of 2 traffic controllers for a total of $34,400. Hartstein asked how many cars could be on Rockefeller Road for a car to turn left from Buena Vista to Rockefeller North, and Formica said it was 2 or 3 vehicles. Jaworski asked about a meeting to get feedback from the residents. The mayor said a letter will be sent out, and this will be a topic at the State of the City. Formica reminded the committee that last year the committee selected option 2 for this project, which will cost a total of $124,300. Members of the committee recommended Strauser be authorized to purchase the controllers at the next meeting. The project is reported out of committee and recommended to the Finance Committee. The second order of business was the 2023 Pavement Improvement Program and Infrastructure Projects. The mayor and council president asked Formica to look at a 1-inch overlay on Fairview after the residents at the last council meeting. Formica said it would cost $63,000 for an 1.25-inch overlay. A 1-inch is the bare minimum you can do for an overlay. Hartstein asked when Fairway was scheduled for replacement, and Formica said it was not on the list. Hartstein said he was not in favor of an overlay on that street, and Saloto agreed. Thielman said it was like driving on a washboard. Levon asked if Fairway was asphalt or tar and chip street. Formica explained it was asphalt street, and the 1.5-inch overlay would not last as long as a 3-inch overlay. Discussion then turned to the list of priority road projects. Formica explained the city needs to spend about $3 million per year at today's pricing to touch every street at least once every 20 years. He recommended that 15 years after we do a street, it should get chip sealed. He then discussed road projects for which the city has secured funding. There's OPWC and Lake County Department of Utility funding for East 296th Street. This is a $1.8 million project with $1.03 million in funding from OPWC and LCDU. The city share of the project is $773,700. The project will include a new 8-inch water line, 3-inch asphalt overlay, and new curbs and aprons. The city received a $75,000 CDGB grant for replacement of a 6-inch water main to an 8-inch water main, storm sewer improvements, and pavement improvements on Ashmere Street. The city shares $393,000, and the overall project cost is $468,000. This will go from Euclid Avenue to about where the backyards are on Alton Road. The last project to receive funding is Rockefeller Road, State Route 84 intersection. Formica also touched on several big-ticket projects for next year, such as State Route 84 resurfacing and Euclid Avenue Streetscape Phase 2. Other projects on the list are Dennis Drive, Stanford, Weber, and Garden Drive. If money is left over, he would like to do slab repair. Formica wants to re-rank the street improvement list this summer and put a 10-year plan in place. Hartstein said he wants to put money into slab repair. Thielman questioned if the city will get $132,200 from Ashmere from the Lake County Department of Utilities. Formica said he will look into that and let council know. Bala asked about Luxona. Formica said it would be over $350,000 to redo it like Waldenza. Strauser asked to hold off on Garden Drive. Levon questioned which projects are accounted for in capital, and Dole stated East 296, Ashmere, and Rockefeller Road, State Route 84 intersection. Levon suggested switching Ashmere with Dennis and Stanford. The committee agreed to this. Strauser noted joint repair can come from the gas tax. The committee recommends sending East 296, Rockefeller Road, State Route 84 intersection, Dennis Drive, and Stanford Drive to the Finance Committee as part of the 2023 Road Improvement Capital Improvement Program. This item is reported out of committee. The last topic was improvement to Wickliffe Cemetery. With the Provo House demolished, there is a need for parking. Formica broke down the cost in two phases. Phase 1 will cost roughly $125,000 and include a parking lot, sidewalk, benches, grading, and landscaping. Strauser noted the service department can do some of this work to cut down on the costs. Phase 2 is estimated to be $225,000 and gets into the lower part of the cemetery with drainage and additional handicap access. Currently, those wanting to access the cemetery must use the area behind Auto Nation, which is owned by the city. Jaworski questioned if we need a fence or buffer between the property to the east. Gahardstein wants to see Phase 1 to get a parking lot so people have access, and the committee agreed to this as well. This item is reported out of committee and recommended to the Finance Committee. Meeting adjourned at 8:36, respectfully submitted.
Finance Committee met on January 16, 2023, meeting called to order at 8:40. Purpose, Safety Forces Capital and the 2023 budget. Present, Bala, Gerhardstein, Jaworski, Koski, Levon, Saloto, Thielman. Also present, Mayor Sakis, Police Chief Vice, Engineer Formica, Service Director Strauser, Finance Director Doles, Building Commissioner Sack, Recreation Director Stopp, and Fire Chief Powers. Fire Chief Powers presented his capital request for 2023, which includes 4 sets of firefighter gear at a price of $9,800, an SUV with all emergency equipment installations at a price of $64,000, 2 automatic external defibrillators at a price of $3,200, and a $100,000 set aside for future apparatus replacement. The total request is $177,000. The committee had no objections to any of these requests. Police Chief Vice presented his capital request for 2023, which includes a new police vehicle with equipment installed at a price of $60,000, updates to the Colby campus and jail camera system at a cost of $65,000, computer upgrades at a cost of $15,000, replacement radars at a price of $13,650, ERT equipment at a price of $5,000, Detective Bureau equipment at a price of $2,500, 10 patrol rifle light mount replacements at a cost of $1,400, and $40,000 set aside for body camera replacement. The total request is $202,550. Chief also advised about the Law Enforcement Trust Fund request for 2023. This includes $45,000 for a live scan fingerprint machine and $5,000 for negotiator, juvenile, and FBI conferences for a total of $50,000. The committee had no objections to any of these requests as well. Since there were no objections, the Safety Forces capital requests are included in the proposed budget, and this item is reported out of committee. Mayor Sakis advised the committee that the finance director has to prepare the budget with the worst-case scenario thinking. He made the committee aware that in this budget, he bumped up the finance director's salary as she is underpaid when compared to the other local city finance directors. He also said that the finance department needs a payroll benefits coordinator, and they have added it as a line item for $23,500. Lastly, he mentioned that in a proposed budget, there is money set aside for a speed flashing sign for Rockefeller by Armadale Road. The proposed budget has a deficit of $2,287,552. This committee went through the revenue portion of the proposed budget first. Council President asked the finance director to add $300,000 to the city income tax so that it was equal to how much we made in 2022. Also, $40,000 was added with the fire chief's blessing to the ambulance fees line item. The total increase in the proposed revenue is $340,000. For the expense portion, Sakis informed the committee that he would like a raise of $10,000 on the safety director's salary. Although it was a part-time position, he believes the position is underpaid. Finance Director Doles was asked about the increase in the administrative assistant position in the building department. She advised she would look into that and advise at a later time. After some discussion, the proposed appropriation of $30,000 for the item cemetery expense was reduced to $6,000. Many questions were asked and answered of the details of the specific line items. The Finance Director will make the adjustments recommended in this meeting, and we will have another meeting in February with an updated proposal. This item is reported out of committee. Meeting adjourned at 10:37 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Councilman Jaworski.
I'd like to make a motion to allow the service director to purchase 2 traffic controllers for the state route Rockefeller Road intersection project at a total of $34,400 per the specs of the city engineer.
Moved by Councilman Jaworski, seconded by Councilman Thielman to authorize the service. Go ahead.
Councilman, not only, I found out after the next morning that a couple of other parts of that traffic controllers system needed to be added, and that number needs to go up to 40,000. Once again, it's all gonna get reimbursed through the project, but if we can modify that to 40, that would make it easier.
Yeah, I'll
45.
40, final 45?
45.
Okay. Then I'll make a
Okay. You rescind your motion?
I'll rescind my motion.
And then the second?
Yeah, you're right.
Rescind the second, okay, go ahead.
So I'll make a motion then to allow the service director to purchase 2 traffic controllers for the state route 84 Rockefeller Road Island intersection project per the specs with the service or with the city engineer not to exceed the cost of $45,000.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Councilman Jaworski, seconded by Councilman Thielman to authorize the service director to purchase 2 traffic controllers for the State Route 84/Rockefeller Road intersection per the specs in the engineering office at a cost not to exceed $45,000. Discussion? Councilman Gerritstein.
That's for both controllers, Pete?
The controllers, the lights, yes.
Okay.
Yes, both controllers.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes. Seelman.
Yes.
Okay, move on to commission reports. Seeing no old business, we want a new business A, mayor's appointment to the Keep Book of Beautiful Commission.
Yes, I would like to appoint Bill Suvella, term to expire December 31st, 2024, to fill an unexpired term of D. Herron, who resigned at January 2023's meeting.
I'll make a motion to affirm the mayor's appointment of Bill Sabella to the Keep Wickliffe Beautiful Commission for the term to expire December 2024.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Kowski, seconded by Councilwoman Soto to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Bill Savella to the Keep Book of Beautiful Commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Seelman.
Yes.
New business B, liquor license application for Trevor Catering. Trevor Catering has LLC 29717 Euclid Avenue, Building B, Wickliffe, Ohio 44192, has a liquor license application. If the councilman of that ward has any objections, please let the council clerk know. New business C, mayor, this is comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so I was approached by a member of the planning commission to see if it's possible for council to refer the MS consultant's plan to the planning commission for them to evaluate and make recommendations to council for an adoption of a new Euclid Avenue comprehensive plan. So not sure if that goes in.
I don't know if we need a committee, I mean, we can discuss it again, do you have any objections to making a motion to?
That was still, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Council, it's still in council subcommittee for that. Would it be appropriate not, for them to wait until after?
Do we want their recommendations before we meet again on that? Is it potentially what we're looking for, or are we? I mean, I don't think it would hurt to have their recommendations of a comprehensive plan. Councilman Gerritstein?
I mean, that's a public record. I mean, if the planning commission would like to look into it and make any suggestions, I think council would appreciate any thoughts that the planning commission had on that topic.
Okay, so my question is it, would they bring it to planning commission? Because I was
When planning commission has another meeting, I'll let them know that we can touch base on that topic. I'll call the chairman and let him know following
Okay,
tonight's
yeah,
meeting.
I was asked to bring it up at the meeting if I would do that for the comprehensive plan, so.
Sure, and the council rep can report back to us what they find.
Yeah, it was something that we were gonna talk about in January's meeting, but we didn't have one, and now we're not having one in February, so.
Okay, perfect.
Councilman Garrison?
Has anyone supplied the members of the planning commission a copy of that report? So do they all have a copy of that report?
I believe so.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sloto?
So the Economic Development Committee was supposed to meet to discuss the findings of the report, and we just haven't done that yet because it was the end of last year. So I do need to call a committee meeting to do that very thing, and after we do that, then we'd be happy to deliver whatever we need to the planning committee to take a look at it also. So I'd like to have a committee meeting first.
Okay, but they're not meeting until March anyway, so if
Yeah.
any time in the next few
All right.
weeks.
Yeah, we'll call a committee meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you. And new business D, Lake County sales tax increase. Councilman Gerhardstein.
I would like to put it in the committee in case any other, council members want to meet and discuss what we've heard tonight, before we do anything further. I just would like to put it in the committee.
Okay. I will put it in the committee of the whole, and we'll call a meeting if anybody wants to discuss in the near future. Yep. Seeing no further new business, move on to ordinances.
Thank you, Council President. The first ordinance for tonight is ordinance number 2023-04. This is the second reading. First reading was January 9th by title only, and ordinance amending Chapter 121, Council, Section 121.01, Rules, Rule number 7, Order of Business of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio. Next ordinance is ordinance number 2023-05. This is the second reading. First reading was January 9th. By title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 121, Council, Section 121.01, Rules, Rule 4, Summer Schedule, and Rule 5, Special Meetings of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio. Final ordinance is ordinance number 2023-07. By title only, an ordinance providing for the compensation and other employment provisions for part-time firefighters of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Thielman, seconded by Councilman Koski, to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2023-07 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballard.
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
No.
Jaworski.
No.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Thielman.
Yes. Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bala, seconded by Councilwoman Sloto, to adopt ordinance 2023-07 as presented. Discussion? Councilman Gerhardstein.
So on this ordinance, this is the ordinance that is used to raise the part-time firemen's pay, correct? So I'm not going to direct this to you, the chief, because the law director said you wrote the ordinance. Okay, so this is the one that allows you to adjust the part-time firemen's pay?
Yes.
So you took out the clause of last year's ordinance that gave you discretionary raise increases without council's knowledge, correct? You took that out of this ordinance. It was line K last year. I don't see that in this ordinance. So is there, that line's been removed from this ordinance where you were able to adjust the pay without council's knowledge? It said on there from last year's ordinance?
No, sir, we didn't, one thing we took out was a section on grievances.
No, you took out line, I mean, from last year, you took out line K from the same ordinance. That's why I'm asking. Just making sure there's no clause in this ordinance that allows you to raise the pay beyond what this ordinance states without council's knowledge.
Well, Councilman, section J would give us that authorization.
So it's still in here then?
Yeah,
Councilman Vella?
No, just explain a little bit about
Okay, well, please understand that we've given all the directors the ability to create the salary or pay rates for all the part-time employees. So,
I understand that, Council President, but last year, the one position was given a 20% raise. In a budget meeting, council was told that we authorized the raise per ordinance, and I want to make sure that clarity, that's the line in the ordinance that when the council was given, said that we authorized the raise, that the raise in the union contracts are 2.75, that particular position was given a 20% raise on the budget. And it was said in the budget meeting that council approved that by ordinance. Well, this is the ordinance I believe they're talking about, that with the ability to adjust the rate to whatever seems fit, this lays out a very specific amount of what the part-time pay is. And I'm okay with the ordinance. I'm only unokay with the fact that when we had this meeting last week, this is the line that when the one person got a 20% raise, which we'd all like to get a 20% raise, but this is the ordinance we were talking about. I just want some clarity on that part of it. I got it. He explained it.
Okay.
And if I may, I did review it, and the only change made was that there was an appeals procedure in here for the employees, and that was the only thing that was
Okay.
removed. So,
If you guys,
other than that, there was no modification.
Law Director, line K right there is not the same line as line K on the current one.
I think they just moved up because there was a new K. We extracted one section and they moved up in letters.
No, the wording is totally different.
okay, so what are we gonna do here?
No, I'm just,
There's still a discussion. Sorry.
There could be a chance that we use the 2020 template to recreate.
Yeah, because the version that I reviewed just had that one section about the appeal, which was.
Certainly, there's no intent to change anything. The only thing we pulled out was a section on grievances for a part-time employee.
So to be clear, so there's no manipulation of anything, is that, because I don't want any unclear
No, the only
business
No.
to happen, so.
No, from when I reviewed, the only change was to remove that grievance procedure.
well, that's clearly different.
Well, if it's different, it'd be a clerical error on my part for sure. Because I submitted what we put in strikeout form for the safety director and the law director to review.
Any further discussion on the motion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Gallup,
Yes.
Gerhardstein.
No.
Jaworski.
No.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Steelman.
Yes.
Seeing no resolutions, any other legislation? Miscellaneous, I'm gonna call for a finance committee meeting for Monday, this February 6th at 7 PM to discuss the 2023 updated budget proposal. Councilwoman Saloto?
I'd like to tack on an economic development committee meeting to discuss the Wickliffe economic development plan.
Is it the MS Consulting updates?
Right, yeah, I was consulting with this.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Council President, what day was that?
February 6th.
Thank you.
It's not next Monday, but the following Monday. Any other miscellaneous? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bala, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to adjourn the meeting. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Ballot,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Saloto, yes, Steelman.
Yes.